Scott, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, brother. It's great to be here.
No, I've been wanting to have you on for a while, but you've said no many times, and
Yes,
so I
I've
was
been
like,
avoiding you for quite a while.
it's time to get this done.
Yeah, yep.
Awesome.
You know
So,
me quite a bit over the last year and a half of being in the mastermind, so I figured it's time to pay you back a little bit.
it's been an honor and a pleasure having you in the mastermind. We actually met at one of the Kappa shows
Yes.
after one of my speeches, and you walked up to me and you said, "Let's do this." So I honor that, and I respect the hell out of the fact that you just said, "Let's rock on, man. I want to grow, I want to learn, I want to become a better leader." So good for you for
Yeah,
that.
your speech felt like you were talking directly to me. Everything you said, it was just like, how does this guy know me? I've never met him before. So it was pretty awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, man. So tell everybody where you're from. Um, so you go ahead.
I'm born and raised Southern California. My shop is in Ontario, California. I've been here since 2006. Got in the pawn industry in 1994, actually the day that OJ ran. I went to work for somebody else. I was, 20-year-old kid, just got laid off from a construction job and needed some work. And a friend of mine was running a store and he needed an employee. So it was a match made in heaven.
Nice. So how long did you work at the pawn shop until then buying your own?
Let's see, that was 94. I bought this in 2006. I did have a little hiatus in between. So I probably worked there 10 years.
Okay. So really you were immersed in the business 10 years. And then how did the opportunity kind of spring up for you getting your own shop?
I burned out working in the pawn shop. I was, the counter grunt, running a store, not really being the manager type. I was more, I had the title of store manager, but they just had me writing loans all day and doing all the grunt work in the weeds. It was 6 days a week, 10, 11 hours a day with a commute. It just sucked. So I got my real estate license after I bought my first house. The agent who helped me buy the house, he's like, dude, you'd be perfect for this job. I completely disagreed, but he believed in me. So I went and did that for a while. Real estate was pretty good to me. I rode the wave, the housing bubble. At my peak, I think I had 16 properties in escrow.
Wow.
As an agent, and was able to buy a couple houses, lived in one, bought it cheap, $126,000 in California. That's like pennies these days.
Yeah.
Ended up selling it for two something, rolled it in another property that was 300,000. And then the market just went crazy. 2006, it appraised for $635,000. So I was getting frustrated with real estate because so many people were in charge of my paycheck. Escrow people, lenders who were completely shady and not telling you the truth, other agents, because everybody and their mother's brother had a real estate license at this time. Yeah. So, I got frustrated. And then I just saw the values and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to pawn. It's what I know. It's what I'm good at. I can control my own destiny. And I did a equity line of credit and cashed out of my house. I pulled a few $100,000 out and I bought a little store that was for sale from one of the old school type pawnbrokers.
Nice. And I've been to your shop. It's a huge store. It's really, really nice. It's called Central Mega Pawn. Of course, we're in California. So knowing the fact that I was in California, we charge next to nothing in interest. So we have to have high loan balances.
Yes.
Right. So being in your store, obviously, you're in the mastermind. For me, you are a great guy, a successful guy. What kind of created, when you bought the shop, how did you grow and what were some of the growing pains and what were some of the things that you did to succeed so quickly?
Well, location, I think, was number one. When I first pulled up to the store, when I found out it was for sale, I was like, holy crap, this is a goldmine opportunity. It was on Central Avenue, super busy street. It runs right between the 10 and 60 freeways, which are huge here in our area. There's probably 40,000 cars a day driving by. And this old guy in here, he was the stereotypical old school pawnbroker. He had a bunch of heads on the walls, all these stuffed animals, and he was writing 30-day loans, 20% interest, which is completely illegal in the state of California.
Yes.
Everything was handwritten, no computer system. He told me he had $50,000 on the street. It turned out to be closer to $15,000. But I didn't care. I mean, the price I would have paid twice the price for the store, even with no loan balance, just because, I don't know, I was young and dumb and had some money for my house, and I needed to get into a store. And yeah, I just took it over from there. And obviously the first thing we did was put in a computer system and did legal loans, 4 months, and just focused on customer service. Whereas the other guy, he was a turn and burn mentality. And we just completely changed the environment.
Well, I mean, he was doing illegal loans, and I'm guessing he didn't care about customers.
No, he would rather screw 4 people a day than help, 100 people a day.
And sadly, we still see that walking into some stores around the country. So you got that store. You had some pawn experience. Yes. Obviously, you had to get a team because your shop is, how big is your shop?
6,400 square feet.
6,400 square feet, and you take everything, obviously.
Everything.
You started growing from there.
We've expanded 7 times. It was a tiny little strip mall, 3 units, and it was the pawn shop, and next door is a tattoo shop, and next door to that was a massage parlor.
Okay.
So it was an eyesore for the city, for sure. It was, imagine the things that were going on in the strip. So we took it over. I kept the tenants for a little while because I was able to negotiate a lease option upfront to buy the building. And as we grew, we slowly, kicked out the tenants and took it all over. Nice.
So you grew the shop. I do want to touch on the fact that you are a security geek, I'll call it, right? Like your store is ridiculously secure. And you feel,
I still see some areas where it can improve, but I think we're head and shoulders above the majority of the pawn population.
Let's talk about what's the reason for that? Like what kind of spurred you to say, I want this place to be really secure, not to have an issue?
It's my livelihood. If this place goes away, I lose all my freedom. I lose all my income. I lose, everything. So I want to protect it. And just like with my relationship, I do everything I can to protect my relationship, and anything that threatens that, I block it out. So it's the same with the pawn shop.
So when you've walked into other shops, what are some things that you see that stores are doing that need to beef up that security protocol?
Oh boy. I recently visited a store where they sold guns, which, it's fine. We sell guns, but they didn't put their guns away at night. I thought, wow, that's crazy. And then I started looking around. I started asking questions about the security. They knew I was a pawnbroker, so it wasn't like I was a customer just walking in asking security questions. I noticed a window with no bars, a first floor window. It's like, do you guys cover that window? And they said, no. So you don't put your guns away at night either? No. Well, we have an alarm. Okay, good for you. And then, I walk the building and just, I'm looking for issues, and, their camera system is seriously lacking. They have like 3 exterior cameras. And it's like, how do you do this? You are such a soft, easy target. It just really comes down, you just got to protect it. And no bars in the windows, poor camera coverage. We have over 100 cameras in my store.
Yeah.
Just looking everywhere. It's not necessarily to see, catch somebody doing something stupid. We're a pawn shop. We're reasonably busy. And, sometimes we put something away and we can't find it because, it happens. So I relied on a lot of cameras to track that item from inception until it was put away till, whatever.
So just for you guys, those who are listening, 6,400 square feet, over 100 cameras.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. You don't have this scarcity mentality of saying, well, I'm not going to spend. You're thinking, I'm going to secure everything that I have. This is my livelihood, and I'll do it whatever it takes.
Yes. Dude, cameras are so cheap these days.
Yeah.
$30-$40, you can get a 2 to 3 megapixel camera. And it's nothing like it used to be. So, for $5,000, you could do like a pretty crazy system.
Yeah. No, and I agree. I agree with you. I remember in our shop, we had like 64 cameras, and we just kept on adding more and adding more. Yep. And you're right. It's our livelihood. We don't sell bread and pastries. Nope. Right? We've got gold and cash and guns, and other people's merchandise sitting in the shop. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Now,
Cash, gold, and guns. Those are the three things the bad guys want.
yeah, cash, gold, and guns. You're right. Exactly. So we have to do everything we can to protect it because a lot of that stuff isn't ours.
Right.
Cool. So I do want to bring up something that's one of the reasons I brought you on the podcast. A couple of years ago, you guys had a tragedy in the shop.
Yeah. It was just over 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Do you mind just kind of sharing what happened and what you can share and kind of?
Well, you can share whatever you want to know. So,
yeah.
March 6th, 2016. It was a Sunday. We had a tragedy in the store. Well, in the parking lot, but it's still a tragedy for the store. One of my employees, who turns out, found out later he had a drinking problem. He was a professional alcoholic, according to the family. He was dating this girl, and they went to lunch together. She picked him up, and they went to lunch. He ended up drinking his lunch because she confessed to cheating on him. So he's obviously distraught. Had some drinks during his lunch period, and when they got back, they got in a fight in the parking lot, just sitting in the car. Normally not a big deal, couples fight. But he pulled out a Glock 19 and shot himself in the head. Yeah. So that was very traumatic for everyone involved, especially her. I mean, I feel terrible for her. She was in the car next to him. She comes running, screaming, from the back parking lot up to the front doors. Oh my God, oh my God. My staff, obviously not very well equipped to deal with a situation like that. They did what they could. They got everyone out of the store, called 911. Obviously went and checked on this individual. I don't know that we need to mention his name. And obviously he was deceased. Police were great. They showed up right away, just a couple minutes. It's a Sunday. I'm off. It was my mother-in-law's birthday. We had plans, but I got that call that, oh my God, this guy shot himself. My first question was, is he alive? The response on the phone was, we don't know. It's like, shit. Okay. So I get down here, everything's roped off. The police are here. I just come barreling in my truck, lifted Super Duty truck. And it's just, I look like, a cowboy riding in from the Wild West. And first question of the police is he alive? And the cop was just, oh, yeah, no. Just like super callous and just like, wow, dude, thanks.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's altered my life ever since that day. Man. So we closed the rest of that day. We closed the next day, which was Monday, brought in some trauma counselors, brought in 2 people, an expert in trauma counseling and then a younger guy, because most of my staff are, younger guys, early to mid 20s. I thought he might be somebody that they could talk to a little easier. And we just sat down and talked about it. Tried to hash it all out. And I don't know, man, it was just a terrible situation. I don't know how else to explain it.
So first of all, thank you for sharing that, like really being open and honest. I think it's important for, the Pond family and the listeners to hear that, because this business isn't always, clouds and stars and Care Bears. But I guess the reason why I wanted you to bring it up is obviously after that situation, you kind of, you were kind of down and out, right? You were like,
oh yeah. I mean, I never really had a chance to grieve. I mean, this guy, he was with me for 5 years. It wasn't like a new employee. I knew this guy well. Well, obviously I didn't know him as well as the family knew him, because they told me about his alcohol problem, which I really didn't know about. I just thought, he was a guy in his late 20s, been with me 5 years. He liked to drink, but who doesn't? So, yeah, that really altered things for me. The family ended up suing me. Me personally, my family trust, which owns the building and the business. So they went after me hard. It was a 7-figure lawsuit. So I don't have 7 figures sitting around in the bank to pay a lawsuit. So that was extremely stressful. I mean, they threatened my entire livelihood. And thankfully, I had some good insurance. I don't know if I should mention him. I mean, Seth Ward was absolutely instrumental in getting me through this. I had 3 insurance companies at the time, one for the building, one for the business, and then the liability insurance. I called all 3 agents on that Sunday. 2 of them called me back on Monday and gave me an 800 number to call and file a claim. It's like, yeah, great. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
The 3rd phone call was to Seth on his cell phone. He answered the call Sunday afternoon and basically said, holy shit, what do you need? I can get on a plane right now and I can be there in 3 hours. And Seth is in another state.
Yeah.
So for me, that was absolutely huge. Like I said, these other people didn't call me back till the next day. I mean, my head was spinning. I had no idea what to do, where to start. So just having someone like that in a catastrophe type situation, just to be the calming voice and just, all right, I'm here. Let's go. We'll work it through and get it done. So
awesome.
That was seriously the biggest thing for me on that day.
Incredible. Now, obviously, a couple of years or a year and a half or 2 years went by, and you were kind of like absent, not really there. Like you said, you couldn't grieve. What kind of?
I was angry. My staff was suffering. One of the guys, super emotional type guy. It's just who he is. He's just got a huge heart, but he wears it on his sleeve, and it really, really messed him up. He was manager of the day that day, filling in for somebody else who was supposed to be here. And he was the first one to go out to the car and see this guy.
Can't even imagine.
In the car.
Yeah. So what shifted? Well, we talked about the tragedy. I want to talk about like the shift, because right now, obviously you're in the mastermind. We talk every single week. You're on the accountability calls, and you're doing much better. Your staff is doing much better. Your loan balance is growing. Like what shifted? How did you go from tragedy to take that to trajectory of success?
Pond Leaders Mastermind. I mean, no bullshit. That's exactly what it was. I was floundering. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to deal with it. It was just overwhelming and stressful. The lawsuit went on for over 2 years. It's just really within the last maybe 6 months that it's been settled and they got paid by the insurance. It didn't cost me a dime. It just closing that door was huge. Having you and the group to just throw things at, it's like, you just accept it, not like stop your fucking whining. Just, okay, you had to get that off your chest. Thanks for sharing, but shut the fuck up and get back to work.
Yeah.
That was huge for me. Just having someone holding me accountable and talking me through it. That's really what it came down to.
Yeah. I always say that the pawn industry, it's a lonely industry. You're sitting there. Yeah, 100%. When you're successful, I mean, you've got a great store, a great shop, and it's hard to talk with your competitors around you. It's hard to talk shop, right? It's hard to. You're part of the California Pawnbrokers Association, but a lot of times we just don't say what we feel, and it happened to me in the pawn industry.
You brought up CAPA, California Pawn Association, and they did something huge for me that also, I like to believe that it helps. I shared, I'm on the board of CAPA, and I shared the story as soon as it happened. It wasn't like, hey, look at what happened to me. It was like, I just had to tell people, just part of the healing process, I guess. I just had to get it out there. I had to get it off my chest. And I told the story one time to the association, and pawnbrokers rallied, man. They are like family. They raised, just different pawnbrokers, let's set up a fund for the family, for the kids of this guy.
Yeah.
And, they raised over 10 grand for him. And wow. I was able to just hand him a check. Said, this sucks. I'm sorry. And I hope this helps.
Yeah. Incredible, man. So basically, being around people, around other pawnbrokers, being held accountable, really helped you get through it.
Yes.
And right now, if I may, like you're such an incredible leader. Like you've grown Crazy bounce. What do you think changed in you now that you are where you are?
Well, part of it was just necessity. I mean, my guys were just distraught. My team was destroyed. I mean, you say we're a big shop, but we're still a smaller shop. We're, 9, 10 of us around here. And we spend tons of hours together, and it was like a brotherhood. And for one of the brothers to do this, it was devastating.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to put on my big boy pants and be the dad, just pick up the pieces and lead them out of the abyss.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of pawnbrokers who are just frustrated and burned out?
Yes. It's super easy. I mean, we're so blessed in this business because you can make so many mistakes and not show up to work and still make money and still make mortgage payments. If I did that stuff in real estate back in the day, it's like, okay, well, you're not working today, you're not making any money today. So yeah, but I mean, we all get complacent, we get bored, we get frustrated. And I'm definitely one that doesn't always want to be here. I want to live my life and enjoy my life. So yeah, it's easy to become frustrated and bored and absent.
One thing you said towards the beginning, you said that if anything gets in the way of your relationship, you move it aside. And I've seen you and your wife together, and I respect the hell out of you for being such a dedicated husband and father, even though going through what you went through, even though you had to come back and kind of pick up the pieces. Like, you are a family man, and you are a man of integrity when it comes to that. So
my father was not that same guy. So I'm a little hyper aware to relationship type situations. My father wasn't the ideal dad to, show you how to live life. He was kind of the anti that showed you what not to do.
Yeah.
So I've seen, what bad decisions can do to a family. So in his own way, he did me a great service. But,
Love that, man. Scott, this has been incredible, brother. What message do you have for the pawnbrokers listening out there?
Oof. I don't know, man. Let's see.
Some words of advice from where you were to where you are today, where you're going.
Just keep plugging away. Do the right thing every day, and things just work out. I didn't come from the family business. I didn't have, millions of dollars in the bank to get this thing going. I would say for newer stores that are struggling, don't write a loan based on how much money you have in the till. The item is worth what it's worth, and pay what it's worth. As soon as you start to hold back the funds, people are going to think you're just cheap, and they're going to go somewhere else. Find reasons to say yes. So many pawnbrokers I know, they just look for reasons to beat you up on the price and how to beat you down. Try to do the opposite. Look for reasons to give them more. Game system, PS4, they've got extra controllers. Okay, well, I can give you an extra whatever. It's customer service and saying yes and doing what's right for the customer will take you to the next level and beyond.
Love it, man. Incredible. So those of you who don't know, Scott's in the mastermind, and you've been with me since the beginning, and I love you for that. I also, what people don't know is every time we get off the call, I say, I love you guys. And like, Scott, I truly love you. Like, you are an incredible human being. If you've never met Scott, he's a towering big man. But I've learned so much from you on our calls, and I appreciate you. And thank you so much for sharing what you just did on the podcast. A lot of times the podcast we talk about just pawn, but you shared a part of your story, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you, Will. I love you too, man. And I know on the calls I've mentioned that, it's very hard for me to tell people that I love them, except for my wife and kids. Yeah. Beyond that, I don't tell that to anybody. I don't know if it's a self-defense thing from, like I mentioned, my father not being the great guy. So, I had to be a man very early in my teen years, and I was the man of the house and a pillar for everybody around me. So that's one of my shields, I think, is to not put my feelings out there.
Yeah. Well, I'm honored, super honored. And ladies and gentlemen, Scott is in the podcast community. If you're not in the Pawn Leaders podcast community, you're missing out on an incredible group of pawnbrokers who chat, who are open, who are honest, who are asking questions. go to facebook.com and just put in Pawn Leaders Podcast Community. Scott, thanks for finally being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. And if you want to go to the next level, join the mastermind.
Yeah.
We need some fresh blood in there, and we share things all the time, and it definitely has helped my business exponentially.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Pawn Leaders Podcast.